Sugar glider, sugar possum, night gliders, all names given to the arboreal marsupial with the hand-like feet, an enlarged opposable big toe on the hind foot, and a range of adaptations suited to moving about in the forest. A creature that is designed to glide from place to place, achieved by the use of a thin furred membrane that stretches from wrist to ankle, increasing the surface area in flight to form a large rectangle. My name is Ann Dahl, and this is Alvin. Alvin is now 16 months old and has been a great teacher. I have raised him since he was 3.5 months old, and I've monitored his behavior and responses, trying to learn all I possibly could about sugar gliders. He has given me hours of entertainment and joy, but most importantly, has shown me things about sugar gliders and helped me understand some of their special and unique traits. Alvin has convinced me that sugar gliders can bond and show affection with their owners. They enjoy playing and interacting with people, and especially enjoy gliding back and forth, but always looking out for that special person, the one they are bonded with, the tree they call home. They have very intense personalities, which is one reason they make such entertaining little pets. They are always looking for fun and play anywhere they can find it. I hope this tape will somehow help in your understanding of these remarkable little creatures, their habits, their wants and needs, and mostly their social behavior and personality traits that make them such unique pets. The following will be touched on in this tape: feeding and dietary needs, caging and the housing of sugar gliders, handling young babies prior to weaning, and the weaning of babies, their personality development, stages we have observed in young sugar gliders, problems you might encounter due to fear, such as not staying with you, and nipping, and other forms of aggressive behavior. And finally, bonding. A mature glider, how it bonds with its owner, the adult personality, and what kind of pet do these adorable babies grow up to be. The first item is for the newly weaned baby or finicky eater. Baby food, especially the fruit kind, is rarely turned down. A high-protein, dry cat food is also a good source of protein. I usually mix this with some parrot food or other nuts. Cottage cheese and or yogurt with fruit is a real treat that most gliders love and a good source of calcium. Fresh fruit is a must, and apples, oranges, melons, and pears are a few I like to try and feed. Trail mix is a special treat that they always will enjoy, and nectar drinks are available at most grocery stores. Nuts, such as walnuts, are Alvin's favorite, and parrot mix can be fed or alternated for variety. These are all good sources of protein. Being an arboreal omnivore, they feed on insects in the wild for their main source of protein. Crickets and mealworms can be fed rather than commercially prepared cat food for those who don't mind feeding live feed. Remember that in the wild, the eucalyptus sap, the acacia gum, nectar, manna, and honeydew, not the melon, a sugary substance, a residue left on trees, forms their main diet. The closer we can duplicate this, the healthier the sugar glider will be. Again, here is a list of some of their favorite foods. Baby food for the finicky eater or newly weaned baby. Chicken baby food could be used for protein. Fresh water is always a must, although apple and orange juice or nectar drinks are a nice substitute. Nuts and seeds are a must for protein, and trail mix is a treat anytime. The dried fruits are a nice break from chopping up oranges and apples, and again, variety is important, and by trial and error you may find that your particular animal has his or her definite favorites. Caging. Their home must be comfortable and safe. In weaning babies, or for their first home, I use a cage at least this big. This cage is 22 inches high, 18 inches deep, and 18 inches wide. It has a wooden nest box with a lid that opens and closes, making it easier to handle and work the babies. This box can be attached and placed up at the top of the cage. This cage also has a drop tray that can be lined with paper and cleaned regularly to help keep the odor down. Products such as odor mute can be used if an odor persists. Cages larger than this can be a bit overwhelming for a small baby, and they can feel lost. If they do not feel safe, it is hard to progress with the taming process. Live branches are placed around the cage, especially at the top, for them to climb on and leap from. These are especially good for their teeth and toenails. I usually use fruit branches, but most trees that are not harmful to birds should be all right. I like to place the branches up along the top. This gives them something else to play on besides the top of the cage. The cage should be welded bird wire and not galvanized wire. A small water bottle is fine, and the plastic containers with this cage will do quite well for food, or you could use small bowls. Most babies tend to be quite clean with their nest boxes, but these can be soaked and scrubbed to keep them clean and odor-free. I do replace the branches with new ones every few months, as they do tend to peel off the bark or just use them up. Most cages will do fine at house temperature. Although gliders have been known to inhabit some of the colder areas of southeastern Australia, for the most part, a temperature range of 50 to 90 degrees is the most comfortable. Young with parents. The first baby I want to show you is too young to wean. It is still nursing, although it is getting too large to hide in the pouch. This is the age when you usually first see them, and they are about 2.5 months old. They will develop quickly once they are out of the pouch and double in size in a few weeks. It is at least a month after I see this baby that I would consider weaning it if it appears healthy and is eating well. These parents are wild caught, and although they kick up a fuss, do not viciously attack me when I handle them. Next is a baby ready to wean that is still with its parents. I will gently take the baby out of the box. Even though the parents are yelling, they do not bite. This box has a stick inside, which I usually remove for ease of getting the babies in and out, but I will work around it this time. The baby is a little upset with all the fuss, but not terrified. The parents, though guarding, are not biting. I usually work with the baby a few minutes a day and then put them back with their parents. This baby has been out of the pouch about a month and is fully furred. Eyes are open, and it appears to be eating well. Her name is Callie. Callie is just at the age when the curiosity starts to take over and they start exploring the world for themselves. She is a bit scared, but not terrified, being out and away from her parents. Although she can be quite vocal, she is not really scared, but if she kept this up too much, I would put her in my pocket and make her feel more secure. I do not want her to be scared every time she is out. One of the best training tools is, of course, a pocket. The pouch setting is very secure for a baby sugar glider. At this age, they crawl around on their mother's back and are just beginning to explore by themselves in their cage. For the majority of the time, they stay very close to their mother. Security is still a big issue with these little babies. Too much, too soon, with all the external stimuli that we impose on them, can turn even the sweetest baby into a very timid glider. This is the first stage that I really identified. If you can get them through this timid phase, and the baby is totally at home with its new environment and with you, the first step in the bonding process has been accomplished, and that is total trust. Since Callie has been used to snuggling up at night with her parents, I will be careful to make sure her new home is kept warm and free from other noisy intruders such as dogs and cats. I will use shallow lids at first to feed baby food, diced up fruit, crunched up nuts, etc., to monitor how well she is eating. If her parents used a water bottle, then I will use a water bottle with her, or I might use a small bowl to ensure she is drinking. Putting her back in the box is not difficult, and it should be gently guided back into the box with its parents. Just dropping it in is a bit harsh. By handling the baby at such a young, tender age, we seem to imprint it early with human smells and touches. The mother will immediately start washing and licking the baby from head to toe to get my smell off, but remarkably, she will not hurt it or reject it. This is one of the main reasons that we are able to tame sugar gliders, since we can play with them at such an early age. Callie, my 3.5-month-old, is getting ready to wean and can be placed into a cage similar to the one at the start of the tape. Since I have already been handling Callie for several weeks, she is familiar with my smell. To make weaning a little easier, I can put a cloth with my smell inside her box so there is something familiar smelling inside. I will normally start to handle and carry the babies around for longer periods of time now, up to several hours a night. The way I hold her in my hands and cup her is important. I try never to grab or hold on tightly to a baby. I scoop them up and hold them in loosely cupped hands. They cannot get out, and this situation is similar to a pouch. Like any baby, they are very curious, and you do need to watch them around other animals as they have no fear. I usually just let the baby travel around on my shoulder or in my pocket. At this age, they are very trusting and usually accept being handled very well. They are curious, and once they build up their nerve, usually after a few days, they will start exploring more. Normally, they will stay on my shoulder and under my hair and not try and get away. If they do, I resort to a pocket or a pouch of some kind and might even pin it shut to keep them in. After a few days of being carried around in a pouch-like environment and not getting hurt, they usually come around. This can be done whenever you have time, but remember the baby will naturally be more active in the evening and early morning hours when its parents are up and moving around. Always let the baby come to you if possible. They are so curious by nature that it doesn't take much to make them come to your hand or walk from hand to hand. Forcing the issue sometimes sets up an attitude in these little guys, especially in young males. Again, here is the size that I usually consider weanable. In comparison to my hand and my fingers, the baby is not very big. But it should appear fully furred, healthy and bright-eyed, with a beautiful silver coat. This is the age of exploration, and their intense curiosity can sometimes turn their world around. But they always come back to check things out again. When baby decides enough is enough, Mama is called in to the rescue and wants desperately to take her wandering child back safely into her nest box. This is easier said than done when you're clinging to a cage. Callie's instinct is to hold on for dear life, and that is what she does. A comment should be made here about adult sugar gliders. They are truly wonderful parents and are very nurturing to their young. The males will huddle over the female with her young if he thinks they are threatened or if he is really concerned about your intent. He may become aggressive. Again, working with and talking with the adults helps considerably in handling the babies later. Getting baby back on board can sometimes be frustrating, but persistence pays off, and she heads home safely. Fonzie, day 1. I have a good example of the next stage I call the terror stage. Meet Fonzie, a young 4.5-month-old male that has not been handled when he was young and is just now being weaned. He has been out of the pouch about 2 months. This is also compounded with the next stage, which is related to age. This stage I call the teenage phase. Fonzie is a basket case. He's scared of me. He's scared of my hands. He doesn't want anything to do with me, much less climb around on me and come out of that box. If this terror stage occurs, it can be quite hurtful, as they tend to nip a lot. He nips me here coming out of the box, and I really try to ignore it. If you pull away, they are very observant and not so dumb. They will quickly realize a nip makes you back off. Fonzie has had a strong attitude and opinion about things from the start. But his curiosity is starting to take over. He wants to look around and likes being out, but he is not comfortable in my hands. To him, my hands have no connection with security or anything he knows. I try not to hold or grab him, but let him do his own thing and check me out. Again, the more you can play on the sugar glider's own natural curiosity to tame him up, the better off you are. I have been looking at him in the house and talking to him for several nights now before attempting to handle him. I'm trying to get him used to the smells, noises, and visual surrounds in my house, one thing at a time. If Fonz were to be jumping away all the time, I would probably put him in a pocket, pin him in there, carry him around, and ignore him for several hours no matter how much he yelled. And then I'd put him back as if nothing had happened. If I start playing this whole thing down, he normally will start to relax and be less fearful. Scooping him up off the table, as I did, is the best way to try and maneuver him at this time. I want to direct him, but since he objects to my hands, I'll try and not let him know that they're there. The best way to pick him up and move him away is by cupping him. One like Fonzie may nip once he realizes that he's being confined and he's not able to go where he wants to, but I ignore it, and by no means do I let him go. Usually they will nip a few times and then quit if it's not working. A hand directed at their face will bring on an attack if it's not a familiar object to them. Their eyesight is incredible, as you can well imagine, and because they do not know how small they are, they will attack anything that moves ahead of them. Later, this will turn into play, I promise. Day 2 of handling Fonzie. I made sure he had lots of his favorite fruits and nuts last night. He still does not trust my hands and sees them as a threat, so he didn't come out. He is yelling today, but so far has not bit me, and that's an improvement. He is still not familiar with my hands, but his curiosity will serve my needs today, as long as I can keep him from feeling too scared or intimidated. Then his curiosity could easily turn back to terror, and the nipping would start all over again. The more he gets used to my hands, the more I can do with him. I want him to get used to my other hand coming in, and that it is not an attack. I can't emphasize how simple these little exercises trying to establish a comfort level will come back to you later. It seems that these intense little personalities can be walking the fence between playful extroverts and vicious aggressors. If a sugar glider gets on the defensive, you will quickly know it as it rises on its hind legs, holds out its hands, fingers fully extended, and screams at you as it contemplates lunging and your death. Here, he backed off and relaxed. Notice how quickly he recovers, and the fear subsides. Now he is starting to build some confidence. Now we can begin working on a relationship. The fun thing, of course, is watching your glider glide around and jump back and forth to you. The gliding skin is truly remarkable. Fully extended in the air, they really look like a flying rug with a head and a tail. They come awfully close to being a bird at that point to me. One main goal with Fonzie is to get him used to my hands and not seeing their movement towards him as a threat. A delicate balance exists between letting him develop using his natural curiosity and controlling him without grabbing him. Hand walking is a great exercise in getting your glider used to your hands. It gives them exercise, something they are really going to need as they get older to stay healthy. As adults, if they are not allowed to glide around freely, then the cage needs to be big enough to allow them for some gliding. My adult cages are 4 foot tall, 3 foot wide, and 2 foot deep with lots of branches. A walk-in aviary would also be nice. Today is day 3 with Fonzie, and I'm going to try and wait this out and see if he would start coming out to my hand. He is still unsure, but not nearly as defensive or upset as he was 2 days ago. He is showing more confidence and looking at me with complete recognition, so maybe we are making some progress. But he does not want to come out. I finally go and pull him out because he's being very accepting of my hand. He's much more relaxed and at ease. This is a slow process. These little guys don't grow up overnight, and it takes time for them to mature into the kind of pet we want them to be. Wow, I think he likes me. He's starting to let me rub him and play with him any way I want. There's a feeling of trust now. He's relaxed, and it is now that his personality will start to develop. I now can put him places without him trying to get away. He is more willing to go where I want him to go, and this is a big step forward. He may not want to stay in the pocket, but he is starting to come to my hand now. I'm beginning to see a change from my hand being a threat to a familiar object that he will come to. Later on, it will be this same behavior that will allow him to glide to me. He definitely recognizes me and is not showing any fear at all. He seems to be enjoying being handled, which is a bit surprising to me, given his reaction 3 days ago. You know, Fonzie is going to be a great pet. From 5 to 8 months of age, the teenage phase can come into play. At this point, even the most tame baby can decide that suddenly you don't look so good. They tend to get more independent and rebellious. They fly away all the time. They might take offense suddenly to being picked up or held, and may even start nipping to show their dislike. Fonzie is now content to sit on my shoulder and watch every move I make. He doesn't appear to be going through this teenage phase. He doesn't want to go anywhere very fast. He's very curious as to what I'm doing and can smell the fruit. He is starting to consider taking food from my hands. This trust that's developing will become a very strong bond later on. While he is cuddled up in my hair or on my shoulder, he is constantly talking, a low, chirping sound. It sounds very contented. He is also discovering wonderful treats can be had in my hands, and he is ever so gentle when he takes them. I like to let him run around on me as long as I can each evening. If he's not trying to go off exploring, it's a lot easier to get things done, since I'm not running after him all the time. He is now beginning to identify me with security, safety, and food. He is beginning to be responsive to pets and rubs, and I think he likes it. It is sometimes necessary to have some sugar gliders on you when you might otherwise choose not to. They need time with you on a consistent basis to maintain a growing relationship. This is all very nice, but sometimes it's hard to get your work done. They're so helpful. Fonzie now is calm enough that he can mix with other tame sugar gliders, and this young male enjoys his company. I try to keep the gliders on me in somewhat of the same stage of taming. Things can get rather confusing and crazy if one is upset, the other one is timid, and another one is teaching them all how to fly away. Different sizes together can be tricky, but it can work. Here, Callie at 3.5 months and Fonzie at 4.5 months look very different. Once out of the pouch, their size doubles quickly, and they are fully grown at about 6 months of age. They may not mature until 8 to 10 months, when bonding really starts in earnest. At each stage of their growth, I see a little of all of these phases in them. Callie has a long way to go, and if she were traumatized, she could easily revert to the timid stage mixed with a newfound emotion, terror. Right now, her trust in people is growing day by day, and that old curiosity has her nearly going places. Alvin has a very strong personality and truly became a pain for several months. He would not stay with me, he did not like my hands, but would put up with climbing on me as long as it suited him. He did not appear to be the cute, cuddly little baby I had been playing with for months. Was he growing up, and was this change permanent? Luckily, I continued to handle Alvin and allowed him to play through this period. He grew out of it and now loves to be rubbed and played with. He will stay for long periods of time while I scratch him and play with him. He is very protective and is always curious to see what I'm doing. He especially likes his face and back rubbed, and occasionally his tummy. He will rub me back and give me love nips, but they're nothing to worry about. It's his way of showing affection, the only way he knows. They usually begin maturing around 8 to 10 months of age. At this time, your interaction with the glider is essential. The more you can handle it at this age, the more bonded it will become. Alvin has the run of the house in the evenings. Anything new, especially if it looks like an animal, must be checked out. Remember, they have no fear of ground dwellers, and this funny-looking little bear poses no threat. He is quite possessive and will attack another animal if I pick it up. I think there's a bit of jealousy in that. This bear just puzzles him. He wishes he could just figure out what's going on in there. Any living plant material will definitely draw his attention, and if it has ribbons and bows attached, all the more fun. Any houseplants will be instant sugar glider haunts and may get eaten, so you'll have to watch that. Silk plants may be climbed but not eaten. He's not dumb. He enjoys exploring, but he's always keeping a watchful eye. Off to explore, there's so much to see and do. But if I walk by, he always has to come to me and see where I'm going. The couch is one of his favorite places. He likes to get down in the pillows and hide, and he does a very good job of that. He also likes to play hide and seek, or peekaboo. The couch seems to be his mountain, or his home base. He likes to catch me not watching him, and then he usually jumps on me. Either that or he just uses the couch as his landing field to come in and take off from. Steel trees? You try climbing these. Nordic track. Huh, watch this baby glide. Whether answering the phone or checking out what's in the inbox. Alvin is always looking for something. And I do have to keep my eye on him. Alvin, come back here. Alvin. Just watch him smell out a meal. Not always the welcome guest, though. And of course there are his hobbies. Eating grapes and playing on the leather saddle are some of his favorites. If the saddle has just been used and has a fresh, horsey smell, he goes bananas looking for that horse. This is just another of his favorite perches when he's loose. He seems to like the leather smell and spends a lot of time up here. Or down there. Or in the stirrups. Or leaping from the horn for food. Peanuts. Peanuts are great anytime, day or night. Ask Alvin. Those little hands are remarkable, and there's not much he can't get into or try to open. Two-handed peanut eating. This is a happy glider. He is very nosy, but not too slick on the furniture, although so far he hasn't scratched anything. He will smell out any kind of liquid, and cups and glasses are not safe. This one happened to have orange juice in it, and he really likes orange juice. Getting food from a nectar or juice source is very important to these little guys. So come on with the fruit juice. He was very determined to get every last drop out of that cup. I do take him outside, but not for long periods. The bright light is hard on him, but he is usually very good about staying with me. Alvin is a very good sport and will put up with a lot before gently letting me know he's had enough. A look, a nip, constantly trying to hide, all tells me it's time to call it a day, and I really respect this. Remember, this is not his normal waking time, and after a while, being up in the day can become quite stressful. He's also very good with other people. He will fly to them and play until I start to walk away. Then he usually glides back to me. They are wonderful with children. Alvin truly enjoys being played with and always comes out for more. He will play for hours and jump and enjoys all the attention, especially in the evenings. No matter how much they play with him, he won't bite. He does give the occasional love nip, but that is a sign of affection and doesn't really hurt. I have often been amazed at how hyped up Alvin can get with children. They get excited and he gets excited, and before you know it, he's flying all over the place. Outdoors, he's a little more reserved. Besides pockets, your neck and under your hair, especially long hair, is a favorite perch for a sugar glider. If you don't watch out, anything hanging on your body in these spots is fair game. You do have to watch them around jewelry because they really enjoy it and might play with it right off your neck or your ears. This could end up in a tight situation if it got tangled up or adding extra weight to your earrings. They certainly can tickle you, and licking is common, especially if you have some nice salty potato chip residue on your hands. Sugar gliders use their tail as a rudder to help them balance and guide their flight. If they have had enough sun, they will try to find a pocket or a nice shirt to go down, and then things can really get ticklish. Sure seems like a reasonable place to take a nap to Alvin. He may not be anxious to come out, but sooner or later can be enticed. Alvin is not overly fond of pockets and normally rides on my shoulder, but you never know what might change one's outlook. What was that dog doing in this part of the video? Pockets. Does this shirt have pockets? Well, maybe pockets aren't so bad given the menagerie around today. Probably the safest place to be. A nice pocket, out of the sun, away from the dog. There's something up here. I know I smelled something up here. There's something different over here. I smell an egg. I knew it. Here's an egg. What an egg! I like eggs. This is a big egg. There's stuff in here. Good stuff. My head's stuck. I see your finger, but the egg's empty. Okay, I'll play chase, but only because the egg's empty. A catnip mouse? I'll try that. It tastes good. Alvin, let go of the catnip mouse. It's not your mouse. It belongs to the cat. Alvin, let go. It's not your mouse. It belongs to the cat. Alvin, let go. Oh, where can my sugar glider be? My sugar glider just ran up that tree. And he hopped away 'cause he loves to play. I wonder if he'll come back to me. So I called his name, and lo and behold, he stopped and turned, and then he jumped so bold, and he hurried and he scurried right back to me. My sugar glider knows his name, you see. Alvin, 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 where are you? Alvin, Alvin.